everybody? I am Jim Tucker, co-host of the On the Mark Wrestling podcast, and I'm going to give you my NXT review from April 15th. Now, normally, I don't do video reviews. Kyle Gagliardi, the host of the show, and myself, we normally don't do video reviews. We normally release a podcast every Thursday on the Mark Wrestling podcast. You can follow us on Twitter at PodOnTheMark. But with social distancing, Kyle and I have decided to review the NXT and AEW shows from the 15th. Kyle's show is awesome. It's also linked onto the Overtime Sports Network channel, so you can find that as well and hear his thoughts on the show. And I'm going to run down the NXT show from yesterday as well. But before I do that, I have to tell you about the Overtime Sports Network. Go to otsportsnetwork.com or follow the Overtime Sports Network on Twitter @_OTSN. A bunch of like-minded individuals that are getting together to cover all types of sports and cover the sporting world in the ways that we can. Not very active right now, given the current climate, but make sure to check it out at @_OTSN on Twitter and otsportsnetwork.com. We have our show because of them, so give them a shout out and give them a look as well. But let's talk about NXT. I thought it was a fair show. I didn't think it was mind-blowing. I didn't think it was poor by any means. We know that NXT edged out AEW in the ratings at the time of this recording. So 2 weeks in a row, they widened their gap in regards to viewers, numbers of thousands. But AEW still won that key demographic. So this is on the heels of a max exodus of a number of people from WWE as well, including Lio Rush and Rusev. Kurt Angle is a producer, among many others. But tonight's show, we'll run down all the matches. I've got my notes here, so I'll peek down at those and kind of give you my thoughts. But like I said, I thought it was a good show. I will not be comparing this to AEW because I haven't watched that yet. So this is my NXT only review. We start off with highlights from last week. Briefly, that would be the 8th of April. So a little video package, and then Finn Balor comes out. He squares off against Fabian Eichner from Imperium on his quest to square off with Walter. And, you know, the more I see Imperium, the more I like. I don't watch a lot of NXT UK. So Imperium's time stateside on NXT's weekly offerings on USA. I've enjoyed it. I thought the match was solid. It was a clean opener, went about 12 minutes or so, and it is another step. Finn had to win, right? You knew he was going to win, but it does keep the ball rolling for Finn and Walter ultimately. So I thought it was a good opener, a lot of good action. And Bartel was around as well, trying to mix things up. So, good opener. Nothing too much to write home about. After that, Charlotte cut a pre-taped promo talking about how she's beat the past, the present, and the future, and how she's the greatest to ever do it. I wanted to see her in action, but we didn't get that. So we know that Io Shirai is going to be kind of next up. I'm really looking forward to that. Next match, we had Xia Li versus Aaliyah. A short one here. It was what it was. Xia Li got the win in a couple minutes. Nothing much to write home about that, you know. After that, we cut into Matt Riddle and Pete Dunne talking on the phone. Pete Dunne can't make it, so Matt Riddle will be defending his titles at the end of the show, and he doesn't know who his partner is. Pete Dunne's going to pick his partner for him, so we've got to stay tuned for that. The next match is part of an interesting concept. It was Isaiah Swerve Scott versus Akira Tozawa, and this is for the interim NXT Cruiserweight Championship. Now, a lot of times they do a bracket for this, but what we're doing here is they've got two pools. So everyone's going to get 3 matches, you know, kind of pool play, similar to like the College World Series or Little League World Series where you'd see that. But we've got the first match here, Akira Tozawa versus Isaiah Scott. Good match to kick the tournament off. Akira Tozawa gets the win. I was kind of hoping Swerve Scott would get the win. I really like Isaiah Scott. Understandable that Akira Tozawa does get the win, being a former champion, but good action, good match. Went 10, 12 minutes again. Enough to wet the palate, but not too long. I could have done with a little bit more, honestly. The action was good. I really liked watching Isaiah Scott work. Glad that he wasn't nixed. It does make sense that Akira Tozawa picked up the win. After that, we find out that El Hijo del Fantasma will be making his debut next week. Okay. I don't know anything about him. So something to try to tide us over, into next week and pick it up. I don't know that it moved the needle too much for me, but it's interesting that they're debuting new wrestlers as they're cutting some. And so I don't know how to feel about that. Next up, we had Tegan Nox versus Raquel Gonzalez. Dakota Kai is ringside with Raquel, and they've kind of flipped roles, right? And Raquel did most of the damage here for most of the match. Tegan Nox was getting kind of mollywopped, but Shotzi Blackheart makes a run in, yeets Dakota Kai. Raquel goes to take care of her. Tegan Nox rolls her up, kind of sneaks out with the win. It could be setting up a tag match between the four of them. I do think that would be very cool. They have put Shotzi on TV a lot, so I like Tegan Nox as well. Her intro song, pretty solid. Kind of right up my alley in regards to music as well. So after that, we get a Keith Lee package, a video package, really well done, talking about his family and how his family didn't want him to pursue wrestling, but he chose to, and showed a lot of really cool moves that he's done. Okay, cool. The next one is one of my favorite parts of the night, and it only lasted a couple minutes, but Dexter Lumis squared off against Tehuti Miles. And Dexter Lumis, I've never seen him. This might have been his debut. Dude's weird. Like, appropriately named Dexter, if you understand that reference to the TV show. Walks out, slim fit khakis, no shirt, leather gloves, very straight faced. Puts Tehuti Miles away with this like anaconda vice like lock, and just puts him to sleep. And he looks kind of like a savage. So creepy music. I'm interested to see what they do with him. He looks super strong. So after that, Adam Cole gets on the video, and he was supposed to have a face-to-face with Velveteen Dream here, but he doesn't. He's at home. He doesn't show up. And he's talking about how the title needs to keep its prestige, and he doesn't think Velveteen Dream might be the right one to fight. But after that, Dream comes out, starts talking. Finn Balor walks in, and kind of gives friction to Velveteen Dream. Maybe the Velveteen Dream and Finn Balor will lock up here in the coming weeks. I am here for it, no doubt. So it could be teasing something after Finn and Walter, maybe before even. We'll have to see how that goes. Velveteen and Finn Balor, that would be a great match. So they preview some matches for next week, and then we get down to the main event. We've got Bobby Fish and Roderick Strong squaring off against Matt Riddle and his mystery partner for the NXT Tag Team Championship. We know Pete Dunne was picking his partner, but we didn't know who. Turns out it was Timothy Thatcher. Not very familiar myself with Timothy Thatcher, but this was his debut. It was good to get him in the mix. It looks like a good wrestler. This was the match of the night. They gave it time, over 20 minutes, and a lot of good exchanges. They made Thatcher look strong. Riddle and Thatcher came away with the win, and it honestly makes sense because you don't want to give up the titles with Pete Dunne not being there. So I think that was the match of the night. Nothing crazy, but aside from the athleticism from all four of them, a back and forth continuous mix. I think the hype of the debut of Timothy Thatcher does live up to it. I'm excited to see how it goes with him. And then lastly, the last part was Tommaso Ciampa comes on and talks a little bit, right? What's done is done between Johnny and Tommaso, indicated, hinting at last week when Candice and Johnny, Johnny came away with the win, but with a little bit of help. And he says, he basically shuts the book on that, closes, goes on to the next chapter. Well, the big takeaway here is that Killer Cross attacks him from behind. And it seems that Killer Cross is going to be next in line to face Tommaso Ciampa. I'm excited for that. I think they're changing Killer Cross's name to Carrion or Carry On, something like that. They don't want the word killer in there. But, yeah. Good, like I said, good show. Firm. I'd give it a 7, probably, somewhere along that line. But I am interested to see what AEW did. And in the future, you can listen to the On the Mark Wrestling podcast on iTunes. You can also listen to us at onthemarkpod.libsyn.com, LIBSYN.com. Make sure you subscribe to our Overtime Sports Network YouTube channel. We really appreciate that. There's a lot of cool videos that pop up here from sports cards, sports packs openings. You can hear all of our podcasts here as well. From the On the Mark Wrestling podcast. I know A Family Divided, a football podcast, also posts here as well. And then also reaction videos and videos of mostly sport related. So make sure you give us a subscribe as well. We'd really appreciate that. And comment down below what you thought the match of the night was. What you thought about Thatcher's debut. If you think Dexter is as creepy as I do, I am in. Spooky, creepy music. Big, strong dude, leather gloves. I'm infatuated with true crime, so the only thing that would make me more excited is if they had a Joe Exotic gimmick character. I love Tiger King, but other than that, that was my NXT review. I give it about a 7. What would you grade it out of 10? I didn't think it was bad by any means, but nothing really to write home about. But I'd like to hear your thoughts as well. So, again, follow us on Twitter at PodOnTheMark. Follow the Overtime Sports Network on Twitter at _OTSN. And we'll see you next week, either with more reaction videos on YouTube or with a podcast. Thank you.